Chapter 1605. I stopped him. Melinda glanced at Gu Mengmeng and then at Elvis. She didn't continue. Gu Mengmeng choked. She narrowed her eyes and asked Melinda, "So, those mermaid males you arranged yesterday?" Melinda nodded and said, "They are the most outstanding mermaids that I chose. They are willing to exchange their entire lives for a kiss from you." Gu Mengmeng really didn't know what to say. Her heart ached for Fei Rui, but other people's lives were also lives. Melinda seemed to know what Gu Mengmeng was thinking about, so she pulled Gu Mengmeng's hand and said, "I know I am very selfish, but if possible, I don't want my brother to sacrifice himself to protect the pearl. So I prepared those." Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "I don't blame you." Yes, she had no right to blame Melinda. Didn't she sacrifice Miranda's child to protect her own child? In times of life and death, human nature was always selfish. Gu Mengmeng looked at Melinda's bloodshot face that was still forcing a smile. In the end, she could not bear to scold her and could only sigh heavily. "You should have told me earlier. Maybe I could have stopped Fei Rui." Melinda's eyes were bloodshot. Melinda forced a smile and shook her head. If no one swallowed the poisonous shellfish king to absorb the kiss of the ocean, this pearl would continue to release poisonous fog and attract all the poisonous shellfish in the sea. When its poison dissipates, this black pearl will become an ordinary pearl, and the kiss of the ocean will cease to exist. So, someone must sacrifice himself to absorb the kiss of the ocean back into the poisonous shellfish king. Only then can the poisonous shellfish king continue to nurture it. Only then can the kiss of the ocean still exist when the next messenger of the beast deity arrives 1,000 years later. There was no such thing as a cheat in this world for no reason. Every benefit you obtained was paid for by someone else in silence. But some prices were hidden and you didn't know. And some prices were displayed in front of you in a bloody manner, letting you know what guilt was. Gu Mengmeng clutched at her chest as she looked at Fei Rui, who was curled up into a ball and sleeping like a baby. She watched as his body was slowly corroded by the poisonous fog until it completely disappeared, turning into a puddle of black fog. And in the middle of the fog, there was a small shell that was half a finger long and 2 fingers wide. It opened and closed slightly and the poisonous fog was absorbed bit by bit. Fei Rui didn't even leave a corpse behind. His flesh and blood became nutrients for the poisonous shellfish king to nurture the kiss of the ocean. His flesh and blood became the nutrients for the poisonous shellfish king, Gu Mengmeng, Gu Mengmeng, and Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng looked at Gu Mengmeng. And the poisonous shellfish kings. Gu Mengmeng felt and felt. The poisonous shellfish king into Gu and Gu Chenvi. De and Gu Tian Mengmeng and Gu. 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 The shells of the poisonous shellfish broke into pieces and fell off, sinking into the deep sea and disappearing into the endless darkness. Without the protection of the shell, the shellfish flesh slowly turned into a black mist just like Fei Rui and was slowly absorbed by the poisonous shellfish king. All the poisonous fog quickly, Guit and the Gu Li and the king and, Gu, the Lin the king, Li. Chapter 1606. The poisonous shellfish king fell into the mud at the bottom of the sea, and then the mud started to change at a speed visible to the naked eye. First, the color turned as black as ink, then the corals and seaweed on the mud withered and died as if their life was sucked out. Then, they were sucked in by the black mud, as if they had fallen into a swamp. The small fish that could not escape in time flipped over, then fell into the mud and were also swallowed. Gu Mengmeng recognized that this was no longer mud, but a swamp at the bottom of the sea. When she went to retrieve the kiss of the ocean, it was little shit who carried her all the way there. Now that she thought about it, if the person who accompanied her was not little shit, no one would have been able to withstand this poison. Even Snake would not have been able to withstand it. Was she going to suffer the consequences 1,000 years later for the sins she committed back then? She did not forget that little shit's skin was almost completely corroded by the poisonous fog, and his wounds were so deep that his bones could be seen. So now that she was the one who planted the seeds of evil, 1,000 years later, should she be the one to escort the next messenger of the beast deity to retrieve the kiss of the ocean? Without Snake's tear of the beast deity, she was no longer immune to all poisons. By then, she would probably die here, right? Wasn't it ironic that the mighty beast deity would die from the poison of the kiss of the ocean? Elvis tightened his arms around Gu Mengmeng's waist and kissed her little hand. He hugged her in his arms and said softly, "Now that things have come to this, there's no use being sad. Fei Rui is a responsible male. We won't forget him." Gu Mengmeng nodded and leaned lightly against Elvis's chest. "I came to settle the kiss of the ocean, but never thought that it would be settled in such a manner. I thought that nothing would happen as long as I forbid others from swearing to me, but, other than swearing, it turns out that legends can also kill people. I don't want to hear any legends in the future. No one is allowed to tell me legends anymore." Elvis chuckled, feeling rather helpless. In the beast world, the lives of males had always been as cheap as grass. Not to mention Fei Rui, who sacrificed himself for justice, there were many males who sacrificed their lives for the sake of pleasing their females. Just how many males had died because of Nina in the past? Who would feel the slightest bit sad? The males in the beast world were ferocious and aggressive. There were countless deaths and injuries every day. It was survival of the fittest, and the winner would take all the food. This was the truth of the beast world and also the standard. No one would shed tears for the weak. No one would even remember the males who died because they were not strong enough. Only Gu Mengmeng valued the lives of males so much. Chapter 1607. Fei Rui's death was a huge blow to Gu Mengmeng. She felt terrible, but didn't know who to blame. She couldn't find an outlet to vent her pent-up frustrations, so she was depressed all day long. At times like this, she started to miss Cole. After Cole's death, Gu Mengmeng thought about it a lot. Putting aside her subjective feelings of love and hate, Cole actually treated her quite well. He shouldered all the dirty things on himself, so that when something like Fei Rui's death happened, she could feel justified in hating him, blaming him and blaming him. As for herself, she had no qualms about it. Cole's personality was indeed twisted, but he also treated her with a twisted kindness. Elvis and Leah didn't want Gu Mengmeng to stay in the deep sea, so they briefed Carter on the tribe's operations, as well as the matters to take note of when protecting the kiss of the ocean, before leaving the deep sea with Gu Mengmeng. Surprisingly, Oriton, who had always been a glutton, didn't pester Leah for food. His face was still expressionless, but solemn. After reaching the shore, Oriton asked Gu Mengmeng, "Are you feeling terrible?" Gu Mengmeng looked at Oriton in confusion. Oriton pursed his lips and added, "It's about little Fei Rui." Gu Mengmeng's eyes dimmed as she nodded. Oriton asked, "Is it the feeling of having a hot stomach?" Gu Mengmeng smiled bitterly and nodded again. Oriton said thoughtfully, "Oh." After a long silence, he spoke again, "So this is how it feels to lose a friend." Gu Mengmeng looked at Oriton in confusion. She wanted to ask him something, but couldn't find the right words to express herself. But Oriton seemed to understand Gu Mengmeng's gaze and answered directly, "I didn't have any friends in the past. I only started to get closer to others after meeting you guys. You, Elvis and Leah are strong enough, so, this is the first time I've lost a friend." Gu Mengmeng patted Oriton's shoulder and said, "Someone once told me that not every separation can prepare you well. It will cause you pain and catch you off guard. So, cherish the people in front of you. While they are still by your side, do your best to treat them well. That way, when they are caught off guard, our hearts won't be full of guilt. If only I had treated him better at that time, if only I had listened to him seriously at that time, if only I had listened to him seriously at that time, if only I had been tortured to a pulp." Oriton seemed to understand, but not really. He nodded his head and looked back at the deep sea for the first time. He told himself in his heart that from now on, whenever he met someone he cared about, he would spare no effort to treat them well. After leaving the deep sea, Gu Mengmeng's last stop was Saint Nazaire. When she returned to Saint Nazaire, she saw Barit standing at the entrance of the tribe to welcome her from afar. Barit, whom she had not seen for a long time, had already matured. He was no longer the lone brave young man who blindly obeyed Gu Mengmeng's orders and helped her escape from Saint Nazaire regardless of the consequences. In the short span of 5 years, he had been polished by the word love that he couldn't say out loud, and he felt a sense of vicissitudes. Other than Barit, Burke and Canwa had also come to Saint Nazaire. Chapter 1608. The change of the Beast King was such a big matter, it was easy to find out about it. Canwa was now taller than Gu Mengmeng by a head and a half. If Gu Mengmeng wanted to hug her son, she had to first wave her hands and make her son bend down. This meant that her son had really grown up and was a mature male now. "Mum, why do I have a feeling that you are going to abandon me?" Canwa walked to Gu Mengmeng's side and tugged at the corner of her shirt. "Don't tell me you despise me for being a male now that you have a younger sister." "Mum, I am your precious son after all. You can't just abandon him just like that, right? I won't fight with my younger sister for your affection." Gu Mengmeng poked Canwa's head. "What's in your head? You are also a piece of flesh that fell from your mother's body. Back then, I almost sacrificed my life to give birth to you. How can you use such heartless words to mock me today?" "Huh. Mum, I was wrong. Hee hee." Canwa had always been a straightforward person. Seeing Gu Mengmeng poke him, he did not get angry and just laughed dryly. Gu Mengmeng sighed. "But Canwa, Mum can't follow you for the rest of your life. Your second brother also has his own things to do. You have to grow up and learn to be independent." Upon hearing that, Canwa immediately exploded. "Mum, are you still going to abandon me? Then, how about this? Mum, I found you a new lover. He's quite fun. Why don't you?" Before Canwa could finish his sentence, he was sent flying by Elvis's kick. His face was so black that ink could drip out from it. "New lover?" Elvis clenched his teeth and squeezed out word by word. "Do you want to die?" "Mm." Gu Mengmeng hurriedly stopped Elvis. She patted his chest and said, "Children speak without thinking. They are just children talking nonsense. Why are you throwing a tantrum? Domestic violence isn't right." Leah pulled Gu Mengmeng back from Elvis's arms and hugged her in his arms, not allowing her to stop Elvis. With a fake smile plastered on his face, he glanced at Canwa who had been sent flying, then looked at Gu Mengmeng and said, "I feel that other than the amazing medical skills in that world, some of the proverbs are also very reasonable. For example, a loving mother produces spoiled children, a filial son is born under the rod, an unpolished jade is worthless, a son who doesn't get spanked is a failure." Gu Mengmeng finally understood that Canwa's new lover was like poking a hornet's nest. Elvis and Leah were most afraid of this. Sigh, this silly son, why did he only grow taller and not grow a brain? Saying such words in front of these two vinegar buckets was really asking for a good death, just like his father. But, no matter how much he wanted to court death, he was still her biological son. Gu Mengmeng definitely could not watch as her two Beast King fathers bully her second-level son. So he pushed Leia hard. Actually, with her little strength, she could not move Leah at all. But because she did not have the powers of a Beast King, Leah was even more cautious when carrying her. He did not dare to use too much strength and was even more careful than carrying a piece of tofu. He was afraid that she would get hurt. So, with Gu Mengmeng's push, she really struggled out. Elvis nodded and let go of Canwa. He looked down at Canwa from above and said, "Brat, if you try to shove people under my nose again, I don't mind permanently paralyzing you and making you a boneless wolf for the rest of your life." Chapter 1610. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. Back then when he was still a little wolf cub, he was really cute like this. But now, a 1.9 meters tall giant was rolling around on the ground making a scene. It was really unbearable to watch. Sighing, Gu Mengmeng said calmly, "Canwa, get up." "No." Canwa snorted angrily, "Meet the new lover I prepared for you. I won't get up if you don't see him." "See, I'll see him." Gu Mengmeng sighed, then gave Elvis and Leah a comforting look. Wasn't it just meeting someone? She just had to say she didn't like him when she saw him. Just treat it as coaxing a child, why was there a need to be so serious? Elvis also knew that he had already hit Kanwa twice today. If he were to hit him again, Gu Mengmeng would really fall out with him. She had always been unscrupulously biased towards Huda and his brothers. Tolerating him twice today was already her limit. Alright, wasn't it just meeting a new lover? Hopefully, that new lover was lucky enough to be able to take a beating. Hearing that Gu Mengmeng was willing to meet him, Kanwa then crawled up from the ground. Ignoring the pain from Elvis's 2 punches, he hurriedly waved to the side and howled. Then, someone slowly walked out from behind the tree. He tried his best to make himself look calm, but his stiff expression and hands that did not know where to place them showed how uneasy he was. Gu Mengmeng could not help but smile bitterly when she saw who it was. She looked at Kanwu and asked, Victor is the new lover you introduced to me? If I remember correctly, the last time I left Zacharias, I had already clearly rejected him. No matter what, Gu Mengmeng would not have any other thoughts towards a little tiger who was about the same age as her own son. She did not forget that the first time she saw this little tiger, he was rolling on the ground with Kanwu, fighting fiercely. In Gu Mengmeng's eyes, Victor was just like her son's classmate. Once again, Gu Mengmeng was not a strange auntie, she was not a pedophile. Kanwu pulled Victor and forcefully pushed him in front of Gu Mengmeng. He whispered into his ear, let me tell you, this is really your last chance. If you don't grab hold of it, my mother will really fly away. As your brother, I'm willing to do anything for you. Look, I didn't even flinch when my father beat me up. If you dare to flinch, I'll bite you every time I see you in the future, even if I bite you to death. Victor was originally very nervous, but he relaxed quite a bit after being mocked by Kanwu. He glanced sideways at Kanwu and said, Tisk, how can you speak to your elders like that? Who can you bite to death with that mouth of baby teeth of yours? If I don't fight back and let you bite me, I'm afraid your teeth will fall off. Kanwu's temper flared up and he wanted to hit someone, but after looking at Gu Mengmeng, he tolerated it. She gave Victor a shove and said, you can pretend to be an elder in front of me after you've chased after my mom. Hurry up, don't dawdle. Victor also gave Kanwu a shove, then tidied up his beast-skin dress. He looked up at Gu Mengmeng and said, we meet again. I'm actually quite good. Why don't you try? You can abandon me if you're not satisfied, I won't blame you. Try. These 2 words shocked Gu Mengmeng so much that she felt like she was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. How could she try this? Gu Mengmeng felt a mouthful of blood rolling in her chest. She really wanted to vomit it on Victor's face. Did this child's head get squeezed by a door? Chapter 16:11. Don't reject me. Victor suddenly looked up. Panic and uneasiness could be seen on his face without any psychological knowledge. I don't want much, I just want to be by your side. I won't force you, because I will stay behind. You just have to bring me along wherever you go. My hunting skills are very good, I can help you hunt whatever you want to eat. Moreover, my original form is a tiger, it's quite impressive. After all, I'm the king of the forest, it's cool to be your mount. What about me? Kanwu was infuriated when he heard that. He kicked Victor from behind and said, I'm helping you pave the way so that you can keep my mother. You haven't even taken the position yet and you're already betraying me? Scram, scram, scram. Didn't you see what level my 2 fathers are at? Do you even have a chance to hunt? King of the jungle. There are 2 beast kings right here, and you're just a Hello Kitty in front of them, huh? I don't need a stepfather who won't help me keep my mother. Humph. Gu Mengmeng watched as Kanwu and Victor fooled around. She was not angry and just felt that it was quite good. She was still worried that Kanwu would be lonely when Qi Xian was no longer by his side. After all, it was very rare to have only one child in the beast world. She was really worried that Kanwu would be alone after she left. But now it seemed that although he and Victor were fooling around, their relationship seemed to be very good. This way, she could rest assured. After Kanwu sent Victor flying with a kick, he leaned forward and stared at Gu Mengmeng. Mother, this tiger is not good, it's normal that you don't like him. Why don't we change to another one? What do you think of Master Burke? I heard that he has a face that's very similar to the one you like. I reckon that with his capabilities, he would be willing to be a substitute by your side. Why don't you consider him? Gu Mengmeng sighed and patted Kanwu's shoulder. Kanwu, no matter where I am, I will always be your mother. You won't lose me. Kanwu's face darkened. He lowered his head and no longer spoke. Of course, he knew that no matter where Gu Mengmeng went, she would always be his mother. Moreover, he did not grow up sticking by Gu Mengmeng's side every day. He was not a mama's boy who could not survive without his mother. But this time, it was really different. He just felt that if he did not make his mother stay, he might not be able to see her again in this lifetime. This premonition made him very uneasy. He was so uneasy that he wanted his mother to stay no matter what. But, his stubbornness was putting his mother in a difficult position, wasn't it? He shouldn't have mentioned Borg. He knew that his mother was most afraid of owing emotional debts. It wasn't as if his mother didn't know what Burke had done for his mother. It was just that one of them pretended to be mute, and the other pretended to be blind. This was a tacit understanding between the two of them, and he shouldn't be the one to break the ice. Mom, I know. Seeing Kanwu's dejected look, Gu Mengmeng's heart ached again. She hugged Kanwu in her arms and comforted him. Even if I am not by your side, I still love you. I know that you have good friends by your side and will have a gentle lover in the future, so I am very reassured. You too, you have to know that Elvis and Leah will always be by my side. They will take good care of me, so you don't have to worry, understand? Kanwu nodded, like an eggplant that had been hit by frost. Chapter 16:12. Actually, he was already an adult. When other males transformed into half-orcs, they should have left their parents and started their own family, but he still lived under his parents' protection for 3 to 4 years. It was not that he did not have the ability, it was just that he was like a kite. Because he was tied to a string, he knew that even if the wind stopped blowing, he would still have a place to return to, so he dared to fly around the sky without any fear. But when the strings suddenly broke, he was at a loss. If he had known earlier, he would not have dreamed of being a hero. He should have stayed by Gu Mengmeng's side obediently. It did not matter if others laughed at him as a useless person, he should have cherished the time he could spend with his mother, but now, it was too late to regret. Kanwu lowered his head and did not make a sound. Victor tried to get closer to Gu Mengmeng, but was stopped by Oriton. The reason was very simple. Leah whispered into Oriton's ear, our family only needs one tiger. In other words, if Victor caught Gu Mengmeng's eye, Oriton's rice bowl would be gone. Snatching a rice bowl from a foodie, you are really courageous. While Oriton and Victor were having an in-depth discussion, Elvis had already carried Gu Mengmeng back to their previous cave. Placing Gu Mengmeng at the entrance of the cave, Gu Mengmeng held Elvis's hand on her left and Lee's hand on her right as they entered the cave. Everything here was the most familiar. When she first came here, she was like a blind person. She could only move a little near the entrance of the cave and could not see anything else after entering. On the right side of the cave was the cloakroom that Elvis had dug for her after she came. Because she said that it would be too wasteful to throw away such a good fur coat after wearing it once, so all the clothes here were her old ones. They were made of different materials and styles, all neatly arranged. It was obvious that someone had taken care of them meticulously. Because of Cole, Gu Mengmeng had not returned to Saint Nazaire for 2 years, so who was the one taking care of this cave for her? Gu Mengmeng looked back and her gaze landed on Barit, who was standing at the entrance of the cave. Barit frowned and chuckled, am I not the messenger's guardian? The messenger is not around, so I have to take good care of her things. Gu Mengmeng returned an apologetic gaze and chuckled. Barit, these few years, it's been hard on you. It's what I should do. Who asked me to owe you? Barit's gaze was filled with melancholy. There was an indescribable bitterness, but also an indescribable pleasure. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "No, Barit, you don't owe me anything. Oakley's incident was planned by Cole and it has nothing to do with you. You don't have to blame yourself for it and you don't have to repay any debt because of it." Barit lowered his head and avoided Gu Mengmeng's gaze. His lips were pressed into a straight line, unable to say the words, "I just need a reason to protect you." Gu Mengmeng patted Barit's shoulder and said, "I'm leaving, you should let it go too. The 16 valued females in Saint Nazaire are the first beauties of each tribe. I have someone I like." Barit still did not look at Gu Mengmeng, his eyes staring straight at the ground. Chapter 16:13. Barit did not look up the entire time. He opened his mouth, but the words that had been swirling in his chest were eventually crushed and reshaped between his teeth. In the end, it became an unrecognizable Barit. Gu Mengmeng heaved a sigh of relief at the fact that she had a sweetheart. She had already harmed Snake and delayed Gregory. If she dragged Barit into this, she was afraid that she would not be able to sort out this list of emotions even if she used 1,000 years. But she did not realize that Barit's gaze, which had been staring at the ground the entire time, was looking at her shadow. After she turned around, Barit then looked up. The deep affection in his eyes was as deep as the ocean, with turbulent undercurrents. "I did not lose you, because I never got you, so to me, losing is an extravagant term. But it's alright, as long as you can be happy, I don't care about anything else. If you want to fly, then fly. I'll stay where I am and guard your things for you. No matter when you're tired and want to rest, everything here will be the same as when you left. You'll always have a familiar home, a familiar Barit, waiting for you at the same spot." That night, Gu Mengmeng gathered the 16 valued females for a bonfire party. They talked about all the interesting things that happened in Saint Nazaire in the past 2 years when Gu Mengmeng was not around. When Gu Mengmeng heard the 16 valued females praising Barit, her heart calmed down even more. Matters between women were never easy to resolve, but Barit was unanimously praised by the 16 valued females. Everyone said that he was a warm man who treated everyone especially well. Gu Mengmeng jokingly said that Barit was like the central air conditioner of Saint Nazaire, but Barit just smiled without saying a word. He was nice to the 16 valued females only because they were chosen by Gu Mengmeng. And every time he mentioned the 16 valued females, Gu Mengmeng would always have a proud look on her face. How was he warm to the 16 valued females? He was just guarding the things that she was proud of. It was no different from guarding the old clothes in that cave. Gu Mengmeng stayed in Saint Nazaire for a full 2 months, walking through every inch of the land. It was the salt lake where Elvis had first met her. She had molested Elvis here and tried to kill herself here. She had made a ruckus there for a long time. The platform of the deity's punishment when she first met Leah. At that time, she had even called Leah Beauty and Leah Daddy. She had also saved Barit, who was on the brink of death there, and even fought with Nina there. Because of a nosebleed, Sandy had caused such a ruckus that she thought she was going to die, and the territory where she had dug potatoes and sweet potatoes, she had visited every place once with Elvis and Leah, recalling the scenes that they had experienced over the years. Everything that she had felt tragic back then had become sweet now. 2 months later, Gu Mengmeng had planned to make a trip to the Mecca desert before winter arrived and settle down the heart of the desert. Then, she could die without any worries. But before she walked out of Saint Nazaire, she felt a sharp pain in her stomach. Gu Mengmeng clutched her stomach and her face instantly turned pale. Large beads of sweat started dripping down her face and she was in so much pain that she could hardly breathe. Chapter 16:14. So, when Gu Mengmeng furrowed her brows, he immediately knew what was going on. Elvis, original form. Elvis panicked and his mind went blank, completely unable to think. He could only rely on their years of tacit understanding to reveal his original form without saying a word when he heard Lee's words. Leah placed Gu Mengmeng on Elvis's back and did not rush Elvis to return to the cave. Instead, he said, "Stand firmly and don't tremble. Once Gu Mengmeng's first labor pain is over, carry her back to the cave immediately. Elvis did not even dare to nod and only blinked his eyes to show that he understood. He did not forget the pain of childbirth that the beast deity, oh, no, Wang Xiaoxin made him experience in the illusion realm. Whenever he thought of that pain-tormenting Gu Mengmeng, Elvis felt as if his heart was being stabbed by knives. If it was possible, he was willing to bear the pain of childbirth 10 times in exchange for Gu Mengmeng's current suffering. But unfortunately, this was the only thing in this world that he could not do for her. Other than feeling heartache, there was nothing else he could do. I'm fine. I'm fine. Gu Mengmeng obviously knew what kind of torture her pain was to Elvis and Leah. She tried her best to smile. Even though her hair was instantly drenched in sweat and stuck to her face, she still tried her best to smile. She was afraid that these two fellows would go crazy and say something crazy like they were going to crush the child. Every time she gave birth, she had to fight her husband with all her might. This feeling was really terrible. Don't talk, conserve your energy and stabilize your breathing. Leah frowned. He was really very conflicted about Gu Mengmeng's stomach. This was the child he had been looking forward to for 5 years. Even though it was not born yet, it was still a piece of his heart. But this piece of his heart was tormenting Gu Mengmeng so much, he could not deny that he had the urge to personally cut it off. Gu Mengmeng nodded and did as she was told. She adjusted her breathing according to the frequency of Li's raising and lowering hands. The pain gradually lessened and Gu Mengmeng finally revealed a big smile. She said, "It's all right, I can bear it. It's not that painful." Before Gu Mengmeng finished her sentence, Elvis had already shot out like an arrow. Before Gu Mengmeng could scream, Elvis had already placed her on the beast skin bed in the cave. Gu Mengmeng did not know if she should say it out loud. Bringing a pregnant woman, no, bringing a pregnant woman to ride a roller coaster was inhumane. Inhumane. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng did not look well, Elvis was extremely worried. He held Gu Mengmeng's hand with concern and asked, "What's wrong? Does it hurt again?" "Huh?" Gu Mengmeng snorted and turned her head away, not wanting to talk to this idiotic husky. Once Leah entered the house, he immediately asked Elvis to start a fire, while he quickly cooked all the food in the house, in preparation to replenish Gu Mengmeng's energy at any time. Oriton received Li's orders and brought the males of Saint Nazaire out to hunt. Even though the males of Saint Nazaire would always be out hunting at this time of the year and the surrounding tribes were already used to it, but this time, the two messengers had left their caves and the males were in a killing frenzy. No matter how big or small they would not let anything go. Even the ferocious beasts that they would never touch during their hunts in the past were now ready to risk their lives and pounce on them, biting them to death and dragging them back to Saint Nazaire. Chapter 16:15. This caused the surrounding tribes to be in a state of panic. Could it be that Saint Nazaire was stocking up on food in preparation for a war with someone? But, wasn't Cole already dead? Could it be that another great demon king had appeared? The surrounding tribes tried to send people to Saint Nazaire to investigate, but the wild wolves and foxes surrounded Saint Nazaire so tightly that not even a fly could pass through, not to mention the orcs. Originally, the orcs did not care about wild beasts, but, firstly, there were too many of them, and secondly, these two types of wild beasts were obviously under the orders of the two beast kings. If they fought with them, it would be equivalent to directly challenging the beast kings. Haha, looking at the ferocious Saint Nazaire tribesmen pouncing on their prey today, which tribe could withstand such a powerful attack? Even now, the two beast kings and the great messenger had yet to appear. Hence, the crowd could only return to their own tribes resentfully, and started to actively set up defenses, but did not dare to snatch prey from the Saint Nazaire tribesmen at this time. Actually, there was no need for such a crazy hunt. The main reason was that there was a little loophole in the transmission. Leah told Oriton, "Prepare food to replenish Mengmeng's energy, so that she won't be exhausted halfway through giving birth." "What will happen if she is exhausted?" Oriton asked. Leah said faintly, "2 lives in 1 body." Of course, Leah would not allow such a thing. By then, even if Gu Mengmeng would fight him to the death, he would definitely kill this daughter with his own hands to protect her. But Oriton did not know what Leah was thinking. He was a fool, 2 lives in one body, how could that be? Hence, he hurried out to make arrangements. His originally expressionless face now furrowed his brows, and with a heavy tone, he told everyone, the great messenger needs food, or else she will die. Hence, Saint Nazir exploded. The great messenger will die because of a lack of food. How could that be? Barit did not believe it at first, and wanted to see what was going on. But just as he reached the entrance of the cave, he smelled a strong scent of blood. He recognized this scent, it was Gu Mengmeng's blood. Previously, when she was plucking potatoes, she cut her hand and he was there too, so he recognized the scent of her blood. Barit's mind jolted as he turned around and ran without a second word, taking the lead in hunting for Gu Mengmeng. This attitude greatly agitated the males who were already agitated to begin with. Damn it, if they let the messenger of the beast deity die in their own tribe because of a lack of food, as males, they would not have the face to live anymore. Not to mention that taking care of females was the natural duty of males, taking care of the messenger of the beast deity was the duty of everyone in the beast world. Just Gu Mengmeng alone, who in the entire Saint Nazir had not received her grace. Which one of them had not benefited from her before? It was all thanks to Gu Mengmeng that the females and their families could comfortably survive the 2 seasons of winter and drought. Even if Gu Mengmeng was not the messenger of the beast deity, they would never let her die from a lack of food just because she was a person. And this kind of agitation would affect each other, just like adding firewood to a burning fire continuously. It would be strange if the fire did not burn even more. Gu Mengmeng was tormented by the labor pains in the cave. Without the tear of the beast deity, her hearing was not as good as before, so she did not know that there were rumors outside that she was about to starve to death, and needed all the food in the beast world to survive. If she had heard it, she would probably be so angry that she would fart her child out. Aside from the topic, this was the last time Susu told everyone about Heaven's vision in the beast world. Chapter 16:16. Leah made use of the time when Gu Mengmeng was not in pain to start a second fire to boil water. At this moment, an uninvited guest appeared. It was a familiar face, Joshua, the current witch doctor of Saint Nazir, the first-level ape who had wooed Gu Mengmeng before. He was already a first-level orc when he wooed Gu Mengmeng. 2 years had passed and he was still a first-level orc. Let me do it. Joshua took the firewood from Lee's hands and threw it into the fire. You? Leah was stunned for a moment but still nodded. After all, it was normal for a witch doctor to guard the door when a female was giving birth. Even Leah had guarded the entrance of the cave when Nina was giving birth. It was just that Nina was the one laying the eggs back then, so it didn't take much effort for her to lay them. Although she smashed all the eggs in the nest and none of them survived, the rule of a witch doctor guarding the door of a female giving birth really existed. Moreover, the bellies of the 16 valued females in Saint Nazir had been unusually neat for the past 2 years. Every year, a few of them would get pregnant and give birth. As a result, Joshua, the newly appointed witch doctor, had more experience in delivering babies than Leah. So, since Joshua was the witch doctor of Saint Nazir now, he should naturally be the one guarding the door. Moreover, there were not many males in the family and they did not have enough manpower. Although Joshua was not strong in battle, his medical skills were not bad. Moreover, Leah had mostly learned theoretical knowledge in the illusion realm and it was all theoretical knowledge. It was his first time going into battle personally. Leaving someone with actual combat experience at the door would at least be of help. Moreover, that idiot Oriton had already brought everyone to hunt. Now, he could not even catch one to stay back to help. Looking at the mountain of animal carcasses in front of his house, Leah really wanted to pinch Oriton to death. But, rather than letting this idiot stay in the cave to create trouble, it was better to let him go out and go crazy. Anyway, winter was coming and these prey would not go to waste. After Gu Mengmeng gave birth, he would arrange for these prey to be distributed to the 16 valued females to tide over the winter. Anyway, as long as that glutton Oriton did not come back at this time to create trouble and harm Gu Mengmeng, Leah did not care about anything else. With Joshua in charge of boiling pots of water at the entrance, Leah had the time to accompany Gu Mengmeng in the cave. Her labor pains were getting more intense. Based on the childbirth knowledge he learned in the illusion realm, Leah knew that it was not long before Gu Mengmeng gave birth. Gu Mengmeng, who had experienced childbirth once, knew that her precious daughter could not wait to see her. Gu Mengmeng knew that her baby daughter could not wait to see her. It was just that Gu Mengmeng had never thought that foxes were so much bigger than wolves. Why did it feel even more painful than when Kanwa was born? Ah dash. The labor pain came again and Gu Mengmeng screamed her lungs out. She gripped the beast's skin beneath her with all her might and clenched her teeth, concentrating all her strength on her abdomen to push the child downwards. Elvis hugged her head, just like what Leah did when she gave birth to Huda and his brothers. His blue eyes were filled with heartache, as if a blunt knife was constantly cutting his heart. Elvis brought his hand to Gu Mengmeng's mouth and said, "Bite me if it hurts." He remembered that Gu Mengmeng had taught Colin this when Sandy was giving birth. Chapter 16-17. This was clearly not a fox's head, but a baby's head. Ah! Gu Mengmeng screamed in pain. As she exerted force, the baby's little face was already exposed. Leah wanted to lick the placenta, but, it was not a fox and did not have a placenta. How could he lick it? His tongue was already out, but he froze on the spot, not knowing what to do. Elvis glared at Leah and said, "What time is it now? Why are you still in a daze?" Leah did not know how to describe his feelings at that moment. He had been through many storms, but now, he was at a loss of what to do. He had all the theoretical knowledge, but he was not mentally prepared. For the past 10 months, he had always thought that he would be delivering a little fox, but this little fox was quite different from what he imagined. Ah! Gu Mengmeng exerted force again, and the baby slipped out. Leah was shocked and hurriedly caught his little princess. His eyes brimmed with tears as he looked at Gu Mengmeng, who was gasping for air like a fish out of water. He choked with sobs and said, "Mengmeng, it's been hard on you, thank you. I love you. Don't talk nonsense." Gu Mengmeng said weakly, "Bite off the umbilical cord, tie a knot, then carry her for me to see." Yeah. Leah did as he was told, using warm water to wash the child clean before wrapping her up in a soft beast skin and placing her beside Gu Mengmeng. He kissed her face and said, "This is the first time I've seen a newborn that is a complete female, and this most special child is our daughter." Leah nodded and said, Gu Mengmeng smiled as she looked at the little red person in her arms. Her motherly instincts were radiating. Gu Mengmeng kissed her precious daughter, then looked at Leah and asked, "Aren't you going to kiss her?" Leah shook his head and said, "Other than you, I won't kiss anyone else." Gu Mengmeng chided, "Pretentious." But she did not say anything else. Elvis saw that Gu Mengmeng's delivery was rather smooth, and heaved a long sigh of relief. He handed the baby over to Leah, then laid Gu Mengmeng down properly. As they tidied up the messy room, they said, "Maybe, now is the best chance." Leah was taken aback. He looked at the newborn baby girl in his arms, feeling extremely reluctant. Before they met, he could ruthlessly say that he wanted to kill her to protect Gu Mengmeng. But after witnessing her birth with his own eyes, Leah felt that he now had two hearts, one for Gu Mengmeng and the other for the little princess. No matter which one he cut out, it would still hurt. But Elvis was right. Thanks to Oriton, the entire beast world now knew that Gu Mengmeng's life was in danger. This was the best opportunity. After all, even acting couldn't be that realistic. Turning back to look at Gu Mengmeng, who had fallen into a deep sleep on the bed, then at the soft little child in his arms, Leah hesitated for a moment before nodding his head. "Kanwa happens to be here. Let him take care of this little sister." Lee's gaze was fixated on his youngest daughter's face. She had her eyes shut and was sleeping soundly like her mother, completely unaware that she had to be separated from her daughter the moment she was born. Every word that Leah said was like a sharp needle that pierced his heart. This child was equally precious to Elvis. As long as it was Gu Mengmeng's child, it would be his treasure. How could he bear to part with this little baby? Chapter 16-18. Leah thought for a moment and nodded. Then let's discuss it with Gu Meng when she wakes up. Elvis didn't say anything else and just continued to pack up the things in the room. Giving birth consumed a large amount of Gu Mengmeng's energy. Without the protection of the tear of the beast deity, Gu Mengmeng's body was extremely weak. After sleeping for a full day and night, Gu Mengmeng slowly opened her eyes. And this one day and one night was known as unconsciousness in the beast world. Elvis and Leah discussed their plan with Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng couldn't bear to part with her newborn daughter, but she also knew that this was the best opportunity. If she didn't make use of it, it would be extremely difficult for her to escape in the future. So, the next day, Gu Mengmeng sat at the entrance of the cave with Elvis carrying her while her face was pale and weak. Strangely, there was no wind within a kilometer radius around Gu Mengmeng. Obviously, this was Gregory's protection. Gu Mengmeng called Kanwu over and handed her daughter to him. She instructed him to bring her to the Snake King Valley and hand her over to Qi Xian. Kanwu looked at his mother's weak state and his eyes turned red. He clenched his teeth and couldn't say a word. In the end, he just nodded his head cautiously. Gu Mengmeng's heart was filled with guilt. She made up her mind to explain everything to her son after the act. A mother faking her own death to deceive her son. Haha, there shouldn't be a mother more mischievous than her in this world. But she had no choice now. The more sorrowful Kanwu acted, the more real the news of Gu Mengmeng's death would be. Anyway, it was difficult for females to give birth. Many females had died giving birth to females, so the credibility was not low in the first place. Coupled with Oriton's hard work, no one would suspect that Gu Mengmeng had a difficult birth. In front of everyone, Gu Mengmeng's hands dropped and she acted out the beauty fades. It was a beautiful death. Elvis and Leah released their Beast King aura at the same time and pretended to lose control. They did not do it for any other reason than to prevent others from coming forward to cry. As long as they neared, they would realize that Gu Mengmeng's tightly shut eyelids were trembling and her eyeballs were rolling non-stop. Then, all their efforts would be wasted. After pressing everyone onto the ground, Gu Mengmeng hurriedly carried her little daughter in her arms, while Elvis carried Kanwu and Oriton on his shoulders. Leah carried Gu Mengmeng and her mother and quietly left the tribe that the two of them had created. Gu Mengmeng stood at the entrance of Saint Nazaire and could not help but look back. This was the hard work of Elvis and Leah, and also the tribe that she had been working hard to protect for the past 5 years. This place contained too many memories between them. There were joys and sorrows. Those small matters that did not matter in the past had now become precious memories. It was as if they weighed 1,000 pounds, causing Gu Mengmeng to be unable to move her feet. What's wrong? Elvis sensed the sadness on her face and asked with heartache. Gu Mengmeng looked up and met Elvis's blue eyes. Her voice was a little choked up as she said, "Hubby, are we going to have no home from today onwards?" In these 5 years, Gu Mengmeng had stayed in many places, be it the cave at the Snake King Valley or Sauter's Stone Castle. But only this cave at Saint Nazaire could be called home by her. Chapter 16-19. But it was different this time. She was really going to leave. A person who was already dead probably wouldn't be able to come back. Elvis rubbed Gu Mengmeng's little head. He was already used to her melancholy. He kissed her face and said gently, "Wherever you are, that's where our home is. Don't be sad, Leah and I will always accompany you." Gu Mengmeng was taken aback for a moment, then she smiled and nodded. Yeah, the cave was not her home, only being with Elvis and Leah was the feeling of home. If not for the two of them, what was the point of her guarding the cave? Although those memories of the past were precious, they would not disappear just because she left Saint Nazaire. It was just that without those traces of remembrance around her, she might slowly forget many things. But so what? As long as the two of them were still by her side, they would have even more precious memories, right? With that thought, Gu Mengmeng's mood became much better. She hugged Elvis's neck and kissed his face, saying, "Yeah, you're right." Passing by the lake where she first met Elvis, Gu Mengmeng suddenly laughed. "Huh?" Elvis asked her with a single syllable, asking her what she was laughing at. Gu Mengmeng said, I feel that you guys are right to call me a little liar. I seem to have been lying since the first day I came to the beast world. Elvis frowned and asked, what did you lie to me that day? Gu Mengmeng sniffled and smiled. I said that I would not take responsibility, but look at me now. Gu Mengmeng tugged at her collar and said, not only did I get a partner, I even gave birth to a son for you. TSK. What happened to the prodigal image of only flirting and not taking responsibility? Sigh. I didn't know that I had such a talent for lying. Elvis also smiled and pinched her little face, saying, in this lifetime, I only ask you to keep one promise. As for the rest, I don't mind. Moreover, you lied especially well when you said, not taking responsibility. Of course, Gu Mengmeng knew that Elvis and Leah wanted her to keep her promise. As long as she said, not abandoning them, as long as she did not go back on her word, no matter what she did, they would forgive her. Wang Xiaoxin said, beast deity doesn't lie, this is the biggest lie. I think it makes a lot of sense. If you want to be an honest beast deity in the future, you should start from never saying, I don't lie. Gu Mengmeng giggled. Elvis kissed her little face and said, all right. With the wild fox and wolves leading the way, Gu Mengmeng and said, Saint Nazir's death, Gu Mengmeng's death. Saint Nazir had attracted the attention of most people, making it easier for Gu Mengmeng and the rest to move around. When they returned to the Snake King Valley, Qi Xian had already prepared a large amount of food in Snake's cave. When he saw Gu Mengmeng, he smiled knowingly and said, I knew that you would come back before winter, so I have already prepared the food. You can stay here in peace. I will guard the entrance, and I guarantee that no one will disturb you during the winter. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and handed the little girl in her arms to Qi Xian. We are here to let you take care of her. To say, to. Chapter 1620. Her name is Danya. Gu Mengmeng replied. Qi Xian carried Danya while smiling and playing with her little chin. He called out softly, little Danya, I am your second brother. Come, call me second brother, all right? It would be a miracle if a newborn could speak. But although little Danya could not speak, she knew how to smile. She grinned, revealing her pink gums. Her eyes narrowed into 2 crescent moons and there were 2 adorable, save-me's on her chubby little face. Her smile melted Qi Xuan's heart. Younger sister, was a magical thing. She had trained the young master of the stray beasts, who was full of hostility, into a domestic dog. Many years later, when little Danya came of age, the ones guarding the tower for her would not be her first partner or suitor, but her 4 brothers at the 4 corners of the tower. As a result, little Danya, who had a sister complex, could not successfully date anyone after she came of age. All her suitors were chased away by her 4 brothers. Her 4 brothers even said righteously, our younger sister must not mate with a male who is inferior to us. Only the heavens knew that her 4 brothers were the most famous males in the beast world. Her eldest brother had an extraordinary aura, as if he was the ruler of the world. Third brother's intelligence was unparalleled. He could control the curtains and determine victory from 1,000 miles away. Many enemies had not even seen his face and were already trapped in a prison, unable to move an inch. Fourth brother was extraordinarily brave and fierce, like a war god descending into the abyss. Just one look at his pair of vicious eyes would make one shudder and retreat without a fight. Not to mention the second brother, he was unusually handsome but full of demonic aura. He never acted according to the rules and killed according to his whims. Most importantly, he was just a 3rd-level orc, but had the ability to make 5th-level orcs tremble in fear. No one had ever dared to be impudent in front of him, and no one dared to test his unfathomable abilities. He was the master of the stray beasts who made everyone tremble in fear. He looked down on the world and no one dared to go against him. It was these 4 devils who acted cute and silly in front of little Danya. As long as they could make their younger sister smile, they would not hesitate to wag their tails and beg for pity. As a result, little Danya became the envy of all the females in the beast world. It was not because her mother was the messenger of the beast deity, nor was it because her father was the beast king. It was because she had 4 good brothers who doted on her to the bone and spoiled her to the heavens. Of course, this was a story for the future, so let's not talk about it for now. He only said that after Gu Mengmeng handed Danya to Qi Xian and Kanwu to take care of, she brought Elvis, Leah, and Oriton to the Mecca desert before winter arrived. This was currently the safest place, and it was also the last stop for the 7 treasures. Because no one would set foot in this demonic territory that lacked food and water. Elvis used the beast skin to cover Gu Mengmeng as the sand danced in the air. Because Wang Xiaoxin had left and Gu Mengmeng had inherited the position of beast deity, many erased memories had returned to her mind. For example, Permitha and Fedatan City. Spring has passed, the hair has turned white, the thoughts are lonely, and a strand of sorrow is cut off to cover the eyes to blind people. Today, I'm heartbroken. Today, we're on different sides. There's no hope for us to meet again in this life. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng and walked in the desert. Gu Mengmeng leaned on Elvis's shoulder and sang softly. They stood outside the once forgotten Fedatan city again. Half of the broken walls had been buried by the sand, but in the center of the city, a faint red light emitted a charming temptation. Aside from the topic, why was Qi Xian so strong? Did everyone still remember the leaf that floated into his head? Chapter 1621. Gu Mengmeng followed the light and indeed saw the blossoming red spider lily. Gu Mengmeng reached out to pluck it and the flower fell into her palm with a slight twist. This was Snake's heart. Do you still want to build a dragon gate in here to sell human meat bun? Elvis looked at the bewitching red flower and frowned with a bitter smile. He would never be able to win Snake in this lifetime, right? Back in the Snake King Valley, Snake once said that he was so weak. He thought that he would be able to turn the tables after becoming a beast king, but in the end, he was saved a second time. 1,000 years later, when Snake returned, would he still be able to keep his position as the first partner? He smiled helplessly. 1,000 years later, there should be a battle. But if 2 beast kings fought, it would be hard to determine the winner. Gu Mengmeng did not know that Elvis's thoughts had already drifted to 1,000 years later. She just smiled and nodded, saying, yes, I want to build a dragon gate in here. I don't sell human meat bun, I just want to wait for someone who has not returned. All right. Elvis replied with a simple word, then kissed Gu Mengmeng's cheek, saying, Leah and I will help you look for the green stone. We will stay here until the dragon gate inn is built. How about that? Gu Mengmeng nodded and agreed with a smile. Leah and Elvis had both gone out to search for green stones, while Gu Mengmeng sat on the broken wall, swinging her feet and humming Sorrow of Separation. Looking at the desolate desert, she felt like a hero going on a wild trip outside the Great Wall. Oriton glanced sideways at the heart of the desert in Gu Mengmeng's hands. He hesitated for a moment before saying, I will guard this for you. You? Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and looked at Oriton. Oriton nodded and said, Leah told me before that I am the most suitable person to guard it. That's why Leah brought me along. Gu Mengmeng looked at Oriton in confusion. Oriton habitually put on a poker face, but his gaze was exceptionally sincere. He said, I was born in the Mecca desert and am the only orc that is suitable to live here. If I am not here to guard it, then no one can do this for you. After all, I'm also your guardian beast. It's only right for me to guard something for you. Besides, it was good for me. I didn't have to mate to break through level 3 and I might even reach demigod level like Higgin. An immortal body, how tempting was that? Anne. Leah said that as long as I am willing to help you guard the heart of the desert, he will let Qi Xian arrange for stray beasts to deliver food to me. After saying so much, the last sentence should be the main point. Gu Mengmeng did not know whether to laugh or cry. She looked at Oriton and said, have you thought it through? It's very lonely to live here alone. Oriton let out a cold laugh from his throat, but his expression did not change at all as he said, before I met you, not only was I alone, but I was also pushed out wherever I went. Later, when I became stronger, I started to be harassed endlessly. To me, it was a wonderful thing to be alone and not be disturbed. Besides, I don't want to lose any more friends. Chapter 1622. Oriton seemed to know what Gu Mengmeng was thinking about. He patted her shoulder and said, "How do you know that the person who comes 1,000 years later will not fall in love with me? Who knows? I might be the next snake, meeting a special person 1,000 years later, giving color and meaning to my life. The next snake, wouldn't his heart be ripped out?" Furthermore, Gu Mengmeng looked down at the red spider lily in her hands. Not only would his heart be ripped out, he would also end up in a messy state and sleep for 1,000 years. Becoming the next snake was really not a happy ending. Moreover, although Snake did not know how to express himself, he unexpectedly fit the image of a domineering CEO in the modern world. The chances of little girls liking him was much higher than Oriton, who only had food in his eyes. He had a body full of fur, but he did not know how to make use of his advantages like Leah. Gu Mengmeng did not even dare to think about Oriton acting cute. In the beast world, where the ratio of males and females was so disparate, did Oriton really have a way to fight against the other males and stand out from the crowd to win the favor of the next messenger of the beast deity? What if the next messenger of the beast deity did not like his dull character? Or, what if the next messenger of the beast deity did not know how to cook? By then, even if the other party grew a flower, Oriton would not be willing to mate with her, right? What did he say previously? Oh, right, he said, "I am not interested in females, I am only interested in food." Gu Mengmeng really felt that the chances of Oriton successfully breaking free from being single after 1,000 years was extremely slim. Oriton looked at Gu Mengmeng's changing expression and did not know what she was thinking about. He could only continue to persuade her, "I am not as good with words as Leah, but I know that it is the most suitable arrangement for me to guard this flower." As Oriton said that, he knelt down on one knee with his palms facing upwards. Elvis told Gu Mengmeng that this was an expression of submission from the orcs. Oriton had never treated Gu Mengmeng like this before. He had really thought it through and was willing to guard this flower and spend a long 1,000 years in the Mecca desert. Gu Mengmeng sighed in exasperation. She could only think that although she did not have a son like Snake, she would probably have to drag the next messenger of the beast deity to watch a few television dramas with her in order to plan for Oriton. However, Overbearing Senior Falls in Love with Me was, after all, a youth romance movie. In the future, Oriton would be starring in a culinary show like A Bite of China? Gu Mengmeng expressed her worries and felt immense pressure. Looking at Oriton kneeling by her feet, looking as if he would not get up until she agreed, Gu Mengmeng finally sighed and gave in. "Oriton, thank you." Gu Mengmeng handed the red spider lily to Oriton. Oriton placed the red spider lily into his chest right in front of Gu Mengmeng. Then, he smiled for the first time in his life. "You don't have to thank me. You just have to urge Leah to fulfill his promise and send me food." Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a moment before replying, "Oriton, do you know? You look very good when you smile." Oriton was stunned by Gu Mengmeng's words. He touched the corner of his lips and said, "Looks like I have made the right choice to guard this flower." Chapter 1623. Gu Mengmeng tore off a piece of beast skin, wrote the word, "wine," on it and hung it on the door. She then got Elvis to use his sharp claws to carve a couplet on the green stones on both sides of the door. The first couplet was, "Chasing after the wind and the moon is the order of the king," while the second couplet was, "Morning clouds, evening rain, horse legs, people's hearts." This couplet was written on the door in Maggie Chung's version of Dragon Gate Inn. Gu Mengmeng felt that that version was the most classic version and did not accept any rebuttals. She taught the words on the couplet to Oriton and told him that if the person who came 1,000 years later could recite this couplet, it would prove that he was the one she found. After all, she did not dare to be as unreliable as Wang Xiaoxin and use TikTok videos as a secret signal. What if the person she chose did not use TikTok? Was she going to demonstrate it personally as the beast deity? The beast deity version of Kelp Dance or Learn to Meow? Haha, the beast deity didn't care about his reputation. When the wine flag fluttered in the wind, Gu Mengmeng finally waved her hand and said goodbye to Oriton. She no longer had to travel a long distance. She just smiled and stared at Oriton, then slowly disappeared into the heat of the desert, like a evaporated mirage. Gu Mengmeng brought Elvis and Leah back to the illusion realm and officially took over the role of the beast deity. She was in charge of marriage in the beast world, and just like the aunties in the neighborhood committee, she helped all the wronged wives and husbands in the area under her jurisdiction. She was also biased towards the females without any principles. In that illusion realm, there was a boundless grassland, layers of mountains and flowing streams. There were no 4 seasons, and every day was as warm as spring with beautiful weather. She would sneak back to the beast world during winter every year and return to Snake's Cave. Her son and daughter would also come back to spend the winter with her. The red coral bracelet that she had prepared for Sandy was also given to Hada to bring back to solder for Sandy. Hada said that when Sandy received the bracelet, she bawled her eyes out and no one could stop her. Colin and Bode could only frown in heartache but could not say anything to comfort her. In the end, they just patted Sandy's back and sighed silently. As for Sandy, even when she fell asleep, there were still tears in the corners of her eyes. But not long after, she smiled. The next day, Sandy told Colin that she dreamed that she had returned to Saint Nazaire and saw Gu Mengmeng roasting meat at the platform of the deity's punishment. It smelled so good that she really wanted to eat it, so she went forward. After that, Gu Mengmeng sat at the side of the platform of the deity's punishment, smiled and extended her hand towards her, saying, "Hello, I'm Gu Mengmeng." She said that Gu Mengmeng was so warm at that time. If she was given a pair of wings, she could compete with the sun. Every year after that, Gu Mengmeng would let the children bring something for Sandy, and listen to what had happened to Sandy in that year. However, to the children, it had been a year since they last saw their mother, but to Gu Mengmeng, she would only accompany the children for dinner every night in the beast world. Yes, one day in the illusion was 1 year in the beast world. The so-called 1,000 years of waiting was actually just 1,000 days. This day, Gu Mengmeng revealed a long-lost smile. Elvis hugged her from behind and asked softly, "What's the good news? Why are you smiling so happily?" Gu Mengmeng waved her hand and a screen appeared in front of her. There was a girl's face on it, crying and laughing at times. Aside from the topic, recommending Sue's new article, Warm Love on the Pillow, Don't Stop Taking CEO's Medicine, a petite little cutie vs a proud and protective CEO, 1v1 sweet pet plus torture plus 3 none, no first love, no ex, no mistress. When they first met at the age of 7, Xia Xiangxi's innocent look instantly captured Lu Jincheng's heart. The young master of the Lu family did not know what it meant to like someone, but he knew that he would never let Xia Xiangxi suffer any grievances in this lifetime. He had to protect this furry and soft little sister for the rest of his life. In a kidnapping at the age of 10, he lost Xia Xiangxi and half his life. For the past 12 years, he had been looking for her every single day. But when he met her again, she had already forgotten about him. Chapter 1624. She is. Leah also came over and looked at this unfamiliar face in confusion. Gu Mengmeng answered mysteriously, "The next messenger of the beast deity." Elvis and Leah looked at each other, then at Gu Mengmeng, asking, "Why did you choose her?" Gu Mengmeng leaned into Elvis's arms and said, "I wrote our experiences in the beast world into a novel and published it on the modern web. She is the most loyal reader of this novel. I am not as scheming as Wang Xiaoxin, so I can't come up with too many plans, so I can only use the most direct method to choose the next messenger of the beast deity." Gu Mengmeng smiled at the girl through the screen and said, "If it's her, she will definitely be able to do better than me. At least she won't be as helpless as when I first came to the beast world, doing so many stupid things and taking so many detours." Elvis chuckled and asked, "So you have been sitting there without moving for this period of time, writing this?" Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, "From the start of the serialization to the end of the publication, it took a total of 237 days. The day it ended was exactly the 1000th day since Snake left me." Leah swayed his tail and asked with a smile, are you sure that this weak-looking girl can really help you gather the 7 treasures? Gu Mengmeng nodded seriously and said, I believe that if it's her, she will definitely be able to do it. Moreover, don't we still have to help her? Elvis kissed Gu Mengmeng's forehead and said, I will always listen to Xiao Meng. Whatever you say, it will be. Gu Mengmeng nodded and then said to the girl through the screen, Hi, my messenger of the beast deity. When you come to the beast world, don't panic, the orcs here are mostly simple and kind, they will not hurt you. Snake and Grace are really important to me, so please help me bring them back. If you need a capable assistant, I recommend Oriton in the Mecha Desert. It doesn't matter if you forget the words on the couplet. I think you can just roast some meat or stir-fry some dishes to take him down. The one guarding the entrance of the Snake King Valley is my son, Qi Xian. When he was young, he suffered a lot, but it was also because of this that he obtained an opportunity. The kiss of the ocean and the soul of the forest both remain in his body, and he is the only one of my 4 sons who is still alive. If you are stopped by him at the entrance of the Snake King Valley, I suggest that you shout, Mother is the best in this world, 3 times. This is the secret signal that I have agreed upon with him. As long as you shout this, he will know that you are my man and won't make things difficult for you. The love of the sky is being guarded by the vulture race. Let me tell you a secret, the current vulture emissary is also a very handsome and abstinent Prince Charming. Every year during the dry season in Moda Mountains, there would be half a day when the wind would stop blowing. At that time, he would go down the mountain to patrol. You just had to stand by the stream and sing, just happened to meet you, and he would bring you up the Moda Mountains. Because, that song is the engagement song between me, the previous messenger of the beast deity, and the guardian god of Moda Mountains. In the beast world, no one knows how to sing it. As for the kiss of the ocean, who knows how many generations of Melinda's descendants are guarding it. The bad news is that the deep sea has not been peaceful these few years and the conflicts between the races are rather chaotic. But the good news is that they have all inherited Melinda's and Carter's beauty and abilities. Each generation is more enchanting than the previous, so beautiful that no words can describe them. Anyway, as a beast deity who already has a partner and does not intend to harm young children, I will not go to the deep sea anymore. I am really afraid that I will not be able to control myself from spoiling other people's little fry. So, I will leave all these handsome men to you, my dear messenger of the beast deity. Just like what Wang Xiaoxin said, my story ends here. Everything in the future is waiting for you to write. I will wait for you in the beast world, see you there, never leave. Aside from the topic, warm love on the pillow, don't stop your medicine, Mr. CEO, Lu Jincheng, Xia Xiangxi, let me tell you, to be my woman, you must have a pure heart. Xia Xiangxi, speak normally. Lu Jincheng, it's very simple. First, you must know how to find trouble for me to solve, and not let me feel bored. Secondly, you must have a rich material life, and not let the money I earn be left in the bank to grow worms. Thirdly, if there are other women who have ill intentions towards me, you must stop them and protect your man's chastity by hook or by crook. Fourthly, the most important point is that you can only have me in your heart, you are not allowed to like other men. Many years later, Lu Jincheng, I heard it all, you said you love other men. Xia Xiangxi rolled her eyes and asked, is the other man called Lu Nangua? Lu Jincheng, yes. Xia Xiangxi, let me tell you, not only did I say I love him today, I also want to sleep with him tonight. Go sleep in the living room. Chapter 1625. 7 years, Gu Mengmeng had been the beast deity for a full 7 years. The messenger of the beast deity she chose was better than her in every aspect. She was honest with her feelings and never wavered like Gu Mengmeng. She had mated with 4 males and truly controlled the land, sea, and air forces, becoming the first messenger of the beast deity to mate with the sea tribe out of the 3 messengers of the beast deity. But, no matter what, she could not escape the heart-wrenching moment when the doors of time and space opened. Gu Mengmeng stood behind her and held her shoulders with both hands. She looked at the open doors of time and space from the side of her ear and said to her, you have watched Wolf Man before. I don't need to tell you. If you go through this door now, the television series that you have been watching during this period of time will become your memory. You will live the blissful life that Oriton has created for you in that world, and everything you have experienced in the beast world will gradually disappear like a dream. On the other hand, the girl smiled at Oriton with tears in her eyes and asked, "Are you afraid?" Oriton shook his head gently and firmly and said, "For you, I am not afraid of anything. I have already promised to be your hero. Why would I change my mind at the last minute?" The girl replied with a thick nasal voice, "Yeah." She hummed and said, "After 1,000 years, I will make crystal pork knuckle, duck neck in soy sauce, bear paw in broth and roasted pig's feet for you." "All right." Oriton pulled his lips into a smile and said in a heroic and tragic manner, "You promised. I will wait to eat your crystal pork knuckle, duck neck in soy sauce, bear paw in broth and roasted pig's feet." That door slowly closed. Gu Mengmeng's eyes still reddened after seeing such a scene after 1,000 years. Only when Oriton and the door disappeared did the girl suddenly pounce into Gu Mengmeng's arms and burst into tears. She was far from being as strong as she thought she was. Even if she knew that she could meet Oriton again after 1,000 years, her heart still ached when she saw Oriton being torn apart in front of her. The girl's collar was pulled by someone, and before she could react, she was flung into the air as though she had lost her balance. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. That little bit of melancholy was completely destroyed by the black face in front of her. "Tu Meng, I haven't seen you for 1,000 years. You've grown a lot bolder, huh? You know that I'm coming back today, yet you want to hug someone else in front of me?" The black-faced deity standing in front of Gu Mengmeng was none other than Snake. He was truly aggrieved. After muddling through 1,000 years, he finally saw her again with great difficulty, but what was the result? Not only did she not come up to him to give him a hug and say a few soft words to tell him how much she missed him, she even hugged that dirty female with tears and snot all over her face. Did he really think he was dead? If it was in the past, Gu Mengmeng might have argued with Snake, but now, she did not want to go against him at all. He had suffered enough, she did not want him to suffer any more. Pouncing into Snake's arms, Gu Mengmeng rubbed her little face against his chest, feeling his ice-cold body temperature. This touch, which used to terrify her, now made her feel blissful. "Ah, Kuan, welcome back. I missed you so much." Gu Mengmeng really wanted to say, "Elvis is also a beast king now, you probably won't be able to kill him," but she was afraid that if she said that, Snake would really go all out to fight Elvis. Sigh, domestic violence is not desirable. Question, the men in my family are too hot-tempered. Their strength is at the peak. If they can fight, they will never quarrel. As a weak little woman, I feel a little sad. What should I do? It's urgent, I'm waiting online. Looking up, Gu Mengmeng's words lingered in her stomach for a few rounds before finally becoming a soft sentence. "You're not allowed to bully me, K.O." Snake's HP bar was empty. It was as if an arrow had pierced through his ribs and pierced right into his chest. Chapter 1627. Gu Mengmeng knew that it was useless to use force on Snake, so she could only use the soft approach. He would fall for it. Seeing how Snake wanted to save face but could not do anything to her, Gu Mengmeng's mood soared. She tiptoed and kissed Snake's chin again, before giggling. Snake's face brightened because of Gu Mengmeng's fawning, so he turned to the side and said, "I brought your guardian beast back too." Gu Mengmeng's body stiffened and the smile on her face froze instantly. Her big eyes quickly became misty and she wiped her eyes with the back of her hand before she dared to turn her head to look at the direction Snake was pointing at. "Gregory." Gu Mengmeng choked and called out his name. Gregory smiled gently and stood on the spot without moving closer. He just looked at Gu Mengmeng affectionately and said, "I promised you that I would come back and I did it." Gu Mengmeng wanted to hug Gregory, but her waist was still in Snake's hands and she did not dare to be rash. So she sneaked a glance at Snake. Snake's expression did not look too good, but he did not flare up. He just said coldly, "He protected my real body for 1,000 years before I could come back to see you safely. Although it was aggrieved, I still owe him, so I brought him back. But I am warning you, do not have any thoughts that you should not have. If I find out." Snake did not finish his sentence and just narrowed his eyes, emitting a dangerous aura from his entire body. Before she could explain herself, Gregory beat her to it and said, "I'm just a guardian beast, I'm not greedy enough to want more, so you don't have to be so nervous, I can't snatch away your love." Gu Mengmeng shrunk her neck timidly and wanted to explain herself. Snake snorted in disdain and said, "Snatch away my love? What a big tone you have, but don't worry, I will not allow such a thing to happen. If you had mated with Tu Meng before me, or if your mark is closer to her heart than mine, I will definitely let you die 100 times worse than what you did 1,000 years ago." Gu Mengmeng could not keep up with his pace. She looked at Snake, then at Gregory and then at Snake again in a daze. So, what Snake meant by "shouldn't have thoughts" was to let Gregory take over before him. She thought he would say that all males other than him were wild men and that she was not allowed to touch them anymore. "What are you looking at?" Snake looked down at Gu Mengmeng and asked. Gu Mengmeng laughed dryly and said, "Nothing much, I just feel that your temper is much better than before." Snake hugged Gu Mengmeng lightly and said, "I have wasted 2 lifetimes to exchange for this person, how can I not treasure her? As long as you're doing well, I'm fine." With that, Snake pushed Gu Mengmeng lightly, sending her into Gregory's arms. Gregory opened his arms wide and stood at the same spot without moving at all. He caught Gu Mengmeng steadily and hugged her deeply, saying, "I don't have the right to snatch you from his arms, so I can only stand here and wait for you. Thank you for coming into my arms. Thank you, for not forgetting me." Gu Mengmeng did not say anything. She just used both hands to gently caress Gregory's arms, pursing her lips and not saying a word. Gregory knew what she was thinking about, so he whispered into her ear, "The weather is nice today. Do you want me to fulfill the promise I made to you previously?" Gu Mengmeng looked up at Gregory with anticipation in her eyes. Chapter 1628. Gregory transformed into a half-orc and let Gu Mengmeng lie on his back. He moved his shoulder blades slightly as a warm-up before spreading his wings and soaring into the sky with Gu Mengmeng on his back. He had not flown for 1,000 years, but his bird-like nature made him never forget how to soar. Gu Mengmeng cheered excitedly on Gregory's back. This was not the first time she was being carried by Gregory. She even had a pair of wings for a short period of time and had flown a few times herself. But this time, it was the most blissful experience she had ever had. A gust of wind blew past her face, making Gu Mengmeng's eyes dry up. Yes, it was because her eyes were dry that she was tearing up. It was not because she was sentimental. It was not. The grassland that stretched as far as the eye could see was not as majestic as Moda Mountain, but it had a different kind of charm. Snake had transformed into his original form and was already fighting with Elvis. The battle between the 2 beast kings looked dangerous, but neither of them wanted to kill the other. After all, they could not bear to see the little person flying in the sky shed tears. Leah swayed his large tail as he sat on the back of the 2-seater chair. He stepped on the armrest lazily and at ease. He would give Snake pointers at one moment and give Elvis a few reminders at the next. He was the classic type of spectator who did not mind the matter getting bigger and was afraid that their fight was not exciting enough. The girl who was originally crying miserably stood at a distance and looked at the 3 legendary beast kings. Initially, her emotions of wanting to cry were forcefully dispersed by them. She was a little dazed and suddenly felt that she could not differentiate between reality and fantasy. She really, just because he finished reading a novel, he transmigrated to this world? Initially, she felt her heart ache because Gu Mengmeng did not value Elvis highly because of Lee's appearance. When Nina's incident happened, she scolded herself for being blind back then and not realizing that Leah was a scumbag. But while scolding him, she also left a message for the author because her heart ached for that white fox's pitiful appearance. Because of Snake's death, she cried a lot, and when she denounced the author, she felt as though she was grinding her teeth. When Gregory broke his wings and was blinded, her heart was tugged at again. At that time, she really wanted to crawl out from the screen and strangle the author to death. But when she saw the ending, the author asked her for help, saying that Snake was really important to her and that she had to save him and Gregory. She agreed in a moment of impulse. She did not even think about it herself. At that time, she only muttered, "If I could really transmigrate to the beast world, I would definitely save Snake and Gregory." Then, he actually transmigrated. This was not in line with the core values of socialism, and it happened to him just like that. Looking at the snake and wolf fighting, the white fox who was watching the commotion and stirring up trouble, and Gregory who was flying in the sky, the girl wiped away the tears on her face, raised her head and shouted, "Susu, I'm going back first. My man is still waiting for me." The girl on Gregory's back peeked out her little head and waved at her through Gregory's shoulder. "That novel ended 7 years ago, and you're still calling me Susu?" The girl smiled brightly and said, "Do you think that everything will be fine after 7 years? You abducted me to the beast world, don't you need to take responsibility? Let me tell you, I'm going to depend on you for the rest of my life. You will always be my Susu." Gu Mengmeng chuckled and nodded. "All right, I will always be your Susu." Aside from the topic, after accompanying Susu for over 200 days, we finally welcome the ending of this novel. I wonder if my darlings are satisfied with this ending? The process was a little complicated, but the outcome was ultimately good. If any of my darlings is willing to transmigrate to the beast world and continue writing chapters, you can leave a long comment on the comments section or send a private message to Susu through the fan group. Outstanding works with a length of 1,000 words and above would be published by Susu in the form of a free novel in the external chapters, with the reader's name indicated. But to avoid copyright infringement, my darlings must not copy other people's novels. Once discovered, it will be deleted immediately. Lastly, please advertise Susu's new novel, Warm Thoughts on a Pillow, Don't Stop Taking the CEO's Medication. Chapter 1629. Traversing the Doors of Time and Space. This option was just a smokescreen from the start. Standing at the entrance of S University, Gu Mengmeng was still in a daze. Her little reader had first replaced her as the messenger of the beast deity, then with Oratin's disappearance, she had replaced her as the new beast deity. Then, Gu Mengmeng was suddenly at a loss. Not the messenger of the beast deity, not the beast deity, then, who should Gu Mengmeng be? What should she do? Return to Saint Nazir? But to her, 3 years and 1,000 days were 1,000 earth-shattering years in the beast world. How could she, the messenger of the beast deity who had been dead for 1,000 years, return? Of course, no one could stop her if she wanted to return. After all, a family of 5 and 3 beast kings was enough to turn the beast world upside down. But how could she return to face everything that had changed? Barit, who said he wanted to guard a place for her to return to, had long turned into ashes, unable to break through the 3rd level boundary. He said his life was in the hands of one person, and other than that person, he would not belong to anyone else. Although the 16 valued females were well taken care of, there was a limit to their beast lives. Without the powers of a beast king, they could not be immortal like Gu Mengmeng. Since ancient times, beauties were like heroes, not allowed to see their hair turn white. The 16 golden hairpins who had once surrounded her, the 16 beauties who made her feel proud wherever she went, had gradually faded away with the passage of time. How could she not feel sorry for them? She could not return, not because someone was stopping her, but because Gu Mengmeng herself could not overcome the barrier in her heart. Therefore, she muddle-headedly stayed in her beast deity illusion for a long period of time. The question she repeatedly pondered was, who am I? Where am I? What should I do? Snake curled his tail and wrapped Gu Mengmeng into his arms, saying, "If you are bored, go back to the modern world." Gu Mengmeng was taken aback, tilting her head to look at Snake. Her eyes were full of excitement, but also full of doubt, as if she did not understand Snake's meaning and was waiting for him to explain. Snake's lips curled up, saying, the last time my parents supported you at the press conference, you suddenly cried and I carried you away. Time there is still at the same place. Do you want to go back and finish acting that overbearing senior falls in love with me? Since you know it's all fake, why do you have to lie to yourself? Gu Mengmeng's spirit wilted and the light in her eyes dimmed. But Snake smiled and said, truth can be false and falsehood can also be true. This world has always been like this. Everyone said that Zhuangzhou dreamed of a butterfly, but who could guarantee that it was not a butterfly dreaming of Zhuangzhou? Anyway, he had nothing to do, so he could just treat it as a pastime. Besides, halfway through his sentence, Snake planted a human kiss on Gu Mengmeng's forehead. He said in a deep and calm tone, I promised to give you a complete family, so I must do it. Regardless of whether other things are true or false, we who are by your side are true. That's enough, isn't it? It was obvious that after experiencing the baptism of the modern world, Snake knew how to communicate with females better than Elvis, Leah, or anyone else in the beast world. He was no longer the awkward Snake King who had kicked little shit up a tree. Gu Mengmeng's lips curled. Yeah, so what if the illusion was fake? Elvis, Leah, Grace and Snake, who were by her side, were real. That was enough. What about you? What do you say? Are you willing to act out a show with me? Gu Mengmeng asked. Digression. She did not want to write the digression, but the little babies kept saying that the overbearing senior did not see the ending and kept thinking about it. So Susu picked up her pen again and continued writing. Chapter 1630. Elvis walked forward and scooped Gu Mengmeng out of Snake's arms. I will always listen to Xiao Meng. Gu Mengmeng nodded. Since Elvis was acting like the first partner, Leah naturally could not bully him as a senior. Hence, he leaned into Gu Mengmeng's arms in his usual flirtatious manner. That place is Snake's home ground. Gu Mengmeng, you have to protect me and not let Snake bully me like he did in the Snake King Valley. My little heart is thumping non-stop. I'm scared and excited at the same time. Gu Mengmeng, touch me. This coquettish fox was up to his old tricks again. Just look at his eyes. Without even opening his mouth, Snake could read the hidden meaning in his words. See, Gu Mengmeng's heart is still on our side. But unfortunately, he could no longer bear to kill this coquettish fox who kept provoking him for no reason. After all, they were a family. Moreover, Gu Mengmeng was a treasure that he had exchanged for after dying twice in the most tragic way. He would rather turn his bones into ashes than let her frown again. So, even if this coquettish fox could ascend to the heavens, he could only whip him down with his tail. He could not whip him to death. Elvis and Leah both expressed their stance. Gu Mengmeng's gaze naturally landed on Gregory. Gregory's status in this family was rather special and awkward. He was not Gu Mengmeng's partner, but a guardian beast. But her partners were all beast kings. Was it his turn to protect her? But what could he do? Even if it was awkward, even if it was difficult, he still wanted to stay by her side and never leave her side. Smiling, Gregory was like a celestial being who stayed on the mountain for a long time. His eyes were as deep as an ancient spring. He opened his mouth and said calmly, wherever baby Meng is, I will be there. The result of everyone passing was that Snake brought them back to the time when they left the last time. Elvis, Leah and Gregory could not appear in Z country without identification cards. So, they could only go to F country with Snake's arrangements. Snake's family was the royal family there. Especially in the recent 10 over years, under Snake's control, the family became stronger day by day. It was too easy for such a family to get a few identification cards. Moreover, Elvis and the rest looked more European. If they insisted that they were from Z country, it would be even more out of place. However, among the 3 people who were arranged to go to country F, the first one who could come to country Z was not the 2 beast kings, but the guardian beast, Gregory. His identity was simple. He was the personal bodyguard Snake had arranged for Gu Mengmeng. Yeah, because the newly appointed CEO of Monster Company, Snake's pampered girlfriend, was locked in the toilet during the press conference and drenched with a basin of water, Snake's parents unanimously agreed that Gu Mengmeng needed a personal bodyguard. Snakel was speechless and kept telling himself, Xiao Meng needs a pair of parents, this is prepared for Xiao Meng. I can't kill them, I can't kill them, I can't kill them. In the end, Snake could only choose Gregory, who had the lowest presence and had spent the most time with him. After all, to Gu Mengmeng, it was over 1,000 days and nights, but to him, he had really been burning in the lava of Moda Mountain for 1,000 years. And in these 1,000 years, it was this birdman who broke his own wings and sacrificed his life to the mountain, so that he could have the chance to return to Gu Mengmeng's side. Chapter 1631. So, the final outcome was that Snake's parents had unilaterally announced that Gu Mengmeng was the future daughter-in-law of their family. Then, with a bunch of extremely profound and high-class English that they could not understand even though their English had obviously passed the 4th or 6th level, they returned to the country in a high-profile manner. That speech was summed up by Snake in one sentence: Gu Mengmeng is our family's daughter-in-law. Whoever touches her will be challenging the F country's royal family, causing a diplomatic dispute between the two countries. As a result, Gu Mengmeng became the hottest new rich overnight. But the amazing thing was, no one knew who the F country's prince who had a marriage agreement with Gu Mengmeng was. Snake was still a gigolo who was kept by Gu Mengmeng. So, Gu Mengmeng, who was surrounded by the crowd at the entrance of S University, was dumbfounded. How should she put it? Her relationship with her husband did not seem to be legal in the modern world. But after being husband and wife for thousands of years, they were suddenly framed by the modern world's marriage values. She, as an authentic modern person, suddenly reverted back to the old ways, and felt like she was not acclimatized. She could almost guess what kind of melodramatic drama the students were imagining. It must be that the F country's prince found out that Gu Mengmeng had kept Snake, the gigolo, in the country and was heartbroken. So, he secretly left Z country and returned to F country to heal his emotional wounds. But before he left, he was worried about Gu Mengmeng's safety, afraid that she would be deceived by Snake, the gigolo. So, he left his confidant Gregory by Gu Mengmeng's side as a bodyguard, to help this prince who had the Horcan plains above his head look after his wife. Just look at Gregory's strong aura, his burly figure, his handsome looks, tsk, a strong scent of abstinence wafted over, it really made one's heart flutter. Just look, he and Snake were standing on Gu Mengmeng's left and right. Their gazes were like sparks, and one could smell the burning scent even from a distance away. Do you want to eat at home or at the canteen? Snake asked. Gu Mengmeng replied, let's eat at home and help Gregory learn the way. Gregory replied, all right. I'll listen to you. Snake gave in unconditionally. Crack crack, his knees shattered. What was going on? Wasn't it supposed to be a battle of swords drawn and bows drawn, a battle between a loyal dog's heart and a senior's lover? Why did it suddenly become harmonious? It was said that the road of love had always been narrow. It was just right for two people, but it was destined to be bumpy with one more person, hiss. But why did it look like the three of them were walking quite widely? One on the left and one on the right, protecting the petite girl in the middle. Their coordination was too good. Of course, they did not know that if Gu Mengmeng's entire family was present, the scene would be even more shocking. Gu Mengmeng had lessons in the morning, which meant that Snake also had lessons in the morning. Because he had voluntarily applied to the school to repeat a year and transfer to the same grade and specialization as Gu Mengmeng, strictly speaking, he was no longer Gu Mengmeng's senior. Yes, he was Gu Mengmeng's legitimate husband. The mark was on his heart. That was a place that was inconvenient for others to see. It was not as conspicuous as the wolf on her collarbone and the fox on her ears, but it made Snake feel deeply that what was the point of dying twice for her? If that kind of situation happened again, he did not mind dying a third time, a fourth time to protect her. Even if each death was more tragic than the one before, and each death was more painful than the one before, he would gladly endure it. As long as she was well, he would do anything. Aside from the topic, previously, you kept asking me why Elvis's mark was not on his heart? Why was Lee's mark not on his heart? Now do you know why? Chapter 1632. Gu Mengmeng's grades were below average and she had to work a few jobs a day. In the past, she would usually fall asleep in class, especially when the old professor rambled on and on. His tone and frequency were more effective than hypnosis. But this time, Gu Mengmeng was so excited that she could not fall asleep. This class was about labor relations and management. The old professor was analyzing the labor dispute case of a certain cartoon company in 2008 due to job hopping. He then explained the importance of labor contract management. To be honest, Gu Mengmeng was still not paying attention to what the old professor was saying. Her pair of big eyes were looking around the entire classroom, and every detail made her feel pleasantly surprised. Actually, before transmigrating, she had never observed a classroom in such detail. What was there to see about something she was used to? But after going to the beast world and coming back, Gu Mengmeng felt a sense of familiarity even from the purple clay cup the old professor was using to drink water. The student scribbles on the blackboard, the silk banner hanging on the wall, the slogan, 5 stresses and 4 beauties, on the blackboard, and the old professor's cursive handwriting that was comparable to an old Chinese doctor's prescription. During roll call, there was a female student who used a book to cover her face and changed her voice to call out for the entire dorm. There was a male student who was sleeping soundly on the table. There was a young couple who was sitting diagonally with a wronged expression, and a young couple who was looking at each other with deep love and regret, thinking that they were filming a music video. There was also an ambiguous partner who was sitting next to each other, but pretended not to know each other, but was surrounded by bonus bubbles. University life was so rich. Why did she not realize it in the past? At that time, she could only try her best to survive. How would she have the time to realize all these? He pinched Gu Mengmeng's little hand. Gu Mengmeng then regained her senses and looked at Snake. That momentary smile dazzled Snake's eyes, and the depression that he had initially felt also dissipated into thin air. What's wrong? Gu Mengmeng asked. Snake wanted to put on a cold face, but he could not do so in front of Gu Mengmeng. The corners of his lips had already betrayed him. Every time he saw Gu Mengmeng, he would unknowingly smile and could not pull it back. As if he had accepted his fate, Snake's tone was unbelievably soft. He no longer had any of the awe-inspiring aura of the Snake King who killed decisively in the past. Right now, he was completely a man who fell in love with his wife. All the tenderness in the world was concentrated on the little person in front of him. You haven't looked at me since this morning. Elvis and Leah aren't around, so I have to fight for attention with this lousy school now? Gu Mengmeng pinched her nose and said exaggeratedly, so sour. My teeth are about to fall off. You still dare to laugh at me? Snake frowned, but his eyes were filled with doting and indulgent smiles. Gu Mengmeng looked at the old professor who was still explaining the specific details of different labor contracts and gestured a shu gesture. She whispered, we're in class, don't disturb others. Be quiet and be good, MMM. Snake gritted his teeth. Obediently? She actually asked him to be obedient? He was the great Lord Snake, the supreme Snake King in the beast world, the most honorable prince in the modern era, the powerful CEO. She actually asked him to be obedient? What was even more hateful was that after she said that, he actually really obediently shut his mouth. Aside from the topic, well, the draft for the new article is still in storage. The speed of the new article cannot be as fast as before, 9,000 a day. The editor meant that 2,000 a day would be enough for me to slowly increase it. But 2,000, even if the editor had the cheek to say that, I would be too embarrassed to agree. So let's temporarily set it at 4,000 a day. If Susu's time permits, she can update a little more babies, you can understand me, right? He hoped that the Fan family would lend a helping hand at this critical juncture and complete the marriage between Fan Yuanbin and the young lady of the Mo family, Mo Fun, ahead of time. Then, he would lend the Mo family a sum of money in the name of betrothal gifts to help the Mo family tide over the current crisis. After the storm had passed and the Mo family had recovered, they would return the money in the name of dowry. However, the Mo clan had forgotten one thing. The so-called marriage alliance was a cooperative relationship that could only be formed when both parties were of equal strength. Right now, the Mo clan was already in existence that everyone avoided like the plague. Chapter 1634. Once this news came out, it was like adding hail to snow. Some of the old business partners who did not press for the debt because of old friendships had no choice but to come to settle the debt. The Mo family really could not fork out the money. None of old Master Mo's antiques were left. They were all moved away. Even the heirloom ring on his finger was forcefully taken off to pay off the debt. Gu Mengmeng did not know and Snake did not remember any of this. Because although they had transmigrated back a week ago, this week was a long 1,000 years that they had spent in the beast world. Snake experienced the decomposition of his body and was suppressed in the magma of Motu for 1,000 years. After his rebirth, how could he see anyone else other than Gu Mengmeng? To him, the Mo family's matter was just an order he had sent to his assistant while waiting for Gu Mengmeng to bathe in the changing room. Moreover, how could he remember a small episode from 1,000 years ago for so long? But to the others here, all of this happened yesterday. Everyone in S City knew how expensive Miss Mo's basin of water was. Under such circumstances, who would dare to go near Gu Mengmeng? Of course, it would be glorious to cling to her, but if they did not know their limits, they would end up in a terrible state. It was not easy to cling to this thigh. And look at the two people beside her, they did not give anyone a chance to get close to her. So, after Gu Mengmeng returned to school, other than the countless gazes that lingered on her, the truly annoying ones did not stick to her. But, she had been the messenger of the beast deity for over 5 years in the beast world. After being stared at by ferocious wild beasts for 5 years, the gazes of the modern world seemed like child's play. Compared to the hundreds of males in Saint Nazaire who used their true forms to stare at her with their green eyes, tearing the carcasses of animals around her, drinking their blood, chewing on the heads of tigers and claws of wolves in front of her, these gazes in the modern world were negligible. Because she had completely forgotten the past, and everyone's gazes were treated as ineffective attacks by Gu Mengmeng, she did not take it to heart. So the Mo family's matter did not cause any ripples in Gu Mengmeng's heart. Gu Mengmeng did not have any classes in the afternoon, and Monday was the regular training day for the basketball club. Strictly speaking, Gu Mengmeng had not seen Bai Lan for over 10 years. She really missed her. To be able to return here and see Bai Lan was definitely the thing that Gu Mengmeng wanted the most. She dragged Snake and Gregory to the basketball club early in the morning and saw Bai Lan playing with Zhang Jincheng. The two of them were now in a relationship, but they were not as affectionate as other couples. Instead, they were more like good brothers who would fight each other whenever they saw each other. However, it was one thing for the two of them to insult each other to the point that they were worthless. If an outsider dared to say anything bad about the other party, they would roll up their sleeves and attack without a word of nonsense. Bai Lan. Gu Mengmeng's eyes reddened the moment she saw Bai Lan. That kind of feeling, as if it was a lifetime ago, directly attacked his heart. Ever since Snake came back to life, Gu Mengmeng's tears, which she had not shed for so many years, gushed out in an instant, unable to be stopped. Chapter 1635. As she said that, Bai Lan glared fiercely at Snake. Snake really felt like he could not defend himself even with 100 mouths. Feeling wronged by Bai Lan's glare, he leaped up angrily, but could not do anything to this woman. Gu Mengmeng cared about her, very very much. She did not say anything and just called out, Bai Lan, before her tears flowed uncontrollably. Snake did not doubt that if he dared to touch a single strand of Bai Lan's hair today, Gu Mengmeng would drown him with her tears. Gu Mengmeng cried even more fiercely as she hugged Bai Lan tightly, choking with sobs. I miss you so much, I'll go. Bai Lan quivered. She grabbed Gu Mengmeng's shoulders and pulled her away. Glancing at her tearful little face, she hugged her harshly back into her arms. She said in an especially manly manner, all right, I'll satisfy you. Go back to the dormitory to sleep tonight. If you can get off the bed tomorrow, it'll be my loss. Actually, girls would occasionally crack such jokes among themselves, but most of the time it was in private, when there were no boys around. Other than Bai Lan, there was probably no other girl in this world who dared to say something like that in front of everyone. Gu Mengmeng was tickled by Bai Lan's words. She punched Bai Lan lightly and sniffled. If I occupy you, what will happen to Zhang Jincheng? Bai Lan laughed heartily and said, both of us have become lesbians, then let him go and be gay with Snake. Wife-swapping games, it's quite exciting just thinking about it. Ha ha ha. Gu Mengmeng was someone who had lived for more than 1,000 years, but she still could not withstand Bai Lan's charms. Pinching Bai Lan, Gu Mengmeng was just about to scold her for not being serious when her waist tightened. Gu Mengmeng was suddenly pulled from behind and fell into a chest. Turning back, she met Gregory's cold and calm eyes. He was looking at Bai Lan with an extremely unfriendly gaze. His brows were slightly furrowed, as if he was sizing up whether Bai Lan was male or female. Gu Mengmeng was stunned. She then remembered that Gregory came from the beast world. This was his first time interacting with a modern person. He would definitely not be able to adapt to Bai Lan's heavy-taste jokes. She wanted to explain but could not find the right words, so she could only turn to Snake for help. But the moment she saw Snake's face, fine, because of Bai Lan's wife-swapping joke, this old man's face was about to freeze, so he obviously wouldn't help. Gu Mengmeng's current position was a little awkward, because the way Gregory carried her was the same way Elvis carried her in the beast world, supporting his buttocks with one arm, as if he was carrying a child. This was very normal in the beast world, but in the modern world, basically no boyfriend had ever hugged his girlfriend like this. Especially since in everyone's eyes, Snake was Gu Mengmeng's boyfriend, while Gregory was just a bodyguard. This is. Bai Lan's expression was also unfriendly. She had already noticed Gregory just now, but Gu Mengmeng cried the moment she saw him, so she did not have the time to ask. Now, even her real boyfriend didn't dare to snatch him from her hands, but a hothead who popped out of nowhere dared to snatch him from her hands? Chapter 1636. Gu Mengmeng patted Gregory's shoulder and said, "Put me down first." Gregory's brows were still furrowed and he was obviously on guard against Bai Lan. Gregory. Gu Mengmeng frowned and her gaze was filled with urgency. Her eyes were still red from crying and Gregory naturally could not bear to make her angry again, so he placed her on the ground but kept his arms around her shoulders and did not allow her to walk over to Bai Lan. Gu Mengmeng had no choice but to say to Gregory, "This is Bai Lan, a very important friend to me, just as important as Sandy. Understand?" Gu Mengmeng purposely emphasized on the word very important and even used Sandy as an example. Although Gregory was still frowning, he had retracted his cold aura and just nodded as a form of greeting. Gu Mengmeng knew that Gregory would at least not lay a hand on Bai Lan and heaved a sigh of relief. She turned to look at Bai Lan and said, "He is Gregory, he is my..." Gu Mengmeng suddenly bit her own tongue. How should she introduce him? "This is my guardian beast, the kind that can die for me but cannot enter my bed." Gu Mengmeng already felt awkward introducing guardian beasts in the beast world, and now that she was in the present world, she could not bring herself to say it. Pursuer. Snake gave Gu Mengmeng a simple reminder and gave her a suitable phrase. Gu Mengmeng looked at Snake gratefully as if she had just been pardoned and said, yes, pursuer. F***ck. Bai Lan's eyes widened and she wrapped her arms around Gu Mengmeng's to pull her to her side. If she were to grab a handful of melon seeds and munch on them, she would be a modern gossipy woman. Bai Lan nudged Gu Mengmeng with her shoulder and said, how did you do it? You made these two love rivals coexist peacefully and even work together to fight against outsiders? But, girl, your taste is not good. How can you find one who looks like a mute and another who still looks like a mute? Gu Mengmeng could not explain to Bai Lan how loyal the males in the beast world were to their own females. And she did not want to change their stubbornness. Call her selfish, call her anything, but she frankly admitted that she liked and enjoyed the loyalty and unique gentleness they gave her. So Gu Mengmeng just smiled and said, I like the ice abstinence type. TSK, do you have masochistic tendencies? Isn't it good to coax you every day? You like to hug ice cubes. Aren't you afraid that you'll freeze? I won't. Gu Mengmeng chuckled because she knew better than anyone else how warm her man was to her. He would never freeze her. Bai Lan smiled slyly, a different kind of ambiguity appearing in the corner of Gu Mengmeng's eyes. She nudged Bai Lan with her shoulder. Aya, you are so annoying. Are you shy? As Bai Lan spoke, she held Gu Mengmeng and walked to the side. When she passed by Zhang Jincheng, she said with a look of disdain, aren't you the leader? Everyone is here. Don't we need to organize a practice? So you're all here to let out some fresh air in the basketball club, right? Zhang Jincheng did not lose his temper even after being teased by Bai Lan. He just chuckled and said, yes, let's hurry up and practice. The Tech University basketball team sent us a challenge letter and indicated that they want to meet Snake. When the time comes, the surrounding universities' basketball clubs will all send representatives to watch the match. Snake, whether our basketball club can become an instant hit depends on you. Aside from the topic. He's an experienced driver. With you here, I'm not afraid, Grace replied with a gentle smile. It would be an exaggeration to say that he was afraid. It was just that riding in a car was too novel, and Gregory was a little nervous. Fortunately, Snake drove home smoothly and did not deliberately speed to scare Gregory. The moment she alighted, Gu Mengmeng's phone rang. The caller ID indicated that it was Bai Lan. Gu Mengmeng didn't think much and directly picked it up. Hello, Bai Lan. You miss me so soon. Gu Mengmeng's joke was met with a creepy sneer on the other end of the phone. That sneer was modified by a voice changer. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.